Features are solid state and true timber, as well as
It's noticeable to me that when I use a 4K mouse, it just feels more responsive.
you can go as fast as you can, just without trying to blow it up. Welcome back to another video. Today is Easter Monday as I'm recording this, so happy Easter to all of you that celebrate this, and hope you all had a good long weekend. In this video, we're looking at the WLmouse Beast X. Now we are a little bit late to the party, given that this mouse was all the hype a few months back, but at the same time, you guys should know that I don't particularly care about riding the hype train, so big thanks to WLmouse for sending this out to me. For a quick summary of this mouse, it is an excellent small magnesium mouse and probably the closest alternative to the Razer Viper Mini SE, which has accessibility issues. The aesthetics, build quality, and accessories are both top tier. Shape is great if it's your thing, and honestly, I don't have any negatives to say about it other than I personally don't like it, but we can talk about that throughout the video. So the mouse comes inside a rather large black cardboard box. It's double the size of a usual mouse box, and the whole thing gives off premium vibes. Now inside the box you're greeted with the mouse, and also an extremely cool 4K cube receiver. There's also the USB-C cables, spare skates and grips, etc. inside the accessories pack down underneath. The mouse itself retails for 140 to 150 US dollars, or 230 to 240 Australian dollars from Osmod Shop, depending on the colorway. Moving straight into build quality. The top exterior of this mouse is magnesium, while the bottom is still a plastic base. Now the magnesium section needs no mentioning, it's extremely solid with little to no flex. The plastic sections, however, still have a little bit of flex, but none of this really matters during actual use. There definitely aren't any issues with how the mouse feels in hand in the build department. Coating on the Beast X is also okay. My standards for magnesium mice have been set a little bit too high by the Lamzutachi, which I have over here, but the Beast X definitely feels much better coated than some plastic mice out there even. Now, uncoated plastic mice need to just stop existing. So Asus or Asus and Razer, please stop. The magnesium shell feels cool to the touch every time, and it isn't slippery either, so pretty good work here. Now, the mouse features a 3395 like all other modern mice and supports 4K polling rate. The sensor placement, however, is something I want to complain about, relative to the size of the mouse. It really is impossible to use this mouse without actually having baby hands, and I wish they moved the sensor up a bit, or else you definitely end up gripping way too far forward. Now for me personally, and where I have to hold the mouse, as you guys can see, the sensor placement just is intolerable. As in, it's probably one of the worst on any mouse I've ever used. Right, the mouse is just too small. All my swipes are extremely off axes in ways I didn't even know was possible. My horizontal movements. Now I don't fingertip grip, but fingertip would be the only way I could possibly use this mouse without having it be the most messed up movements. Right, if you're a medium to large, full-sized palm or claw gripper, I'd just recommend disregarding this mouse entirely. Now if your hands are small enough or you're a fingertip gripper, then maybe it's worth considering. Now going to clicks, the Beast X features Omron opticals, which many consider to be the best opticals there are. The clicks themselves are also tensioned extremely well with little to no wobble. They're also extremely light and crispy. However, they also barely have any pre and post travel. Now, I personally do want a bit of pre and post travel because it gives me more indication and confidence towards when I've actually clicked and when I've actually let go. However, if you are the opposite and you dislike pre or post travel, or you just don't care at all, then the clicks here are simply fantastic, and I would have to say these are some of the best I've ever tried as well. The mouse weighs in at 39 grams and really feels like it just doesn't exist when you hold it. Weight distribution is also good, it seems pretty well balanced. I don't notice the front or rear being heavier than the other. Good job done here. The mouse came with stock small corner skates attached, but I took those off and I put the supplied extra larger skates on. The stock BeastX skates themselves are really fast and smooth. Now, I personally would change these two core pads if I was to main this mouse, but the design itself is fine, because it's one large front section and one large rear section, and as I've always said in all my videos, that's how it should be. So lastly, into shape and comparisons. The shape of the Beast X is a Razer Viper Mini clone. Now, I personally hate the shape because it is far too small and far too low for me to use, but I also know many people out there that love this. As for the rear of the mouse, the magnesium cutouts themselves are very large. but surprisingly, they still feel okay to use when pushed against the palm of your hand, provided that you can even get your palm to make contact in the first place. The sides, however, are my biggest gripe, and I find it really hard to recommend this. Now, under the grip tape, which is also supplied as a stock accessory, the sides of the BeastX are actually cut open as well, and they feel like cheese graters. Now, I really can't emphasize this enough, but please, never design a mouse without solid sides, or else you have already failed at the design phase if you were to ask me. Even putting grip tape on this mouse doesn't entirely solve this issue, and you can still feel the cutouts through them. The shape itself is well made for high mobility, both via your fingertip adjustments and also inside your hand, because there is no hump to support the ball of your palm, which in turn means you don't have that y-axis pressure pushing the mouse into the mouse pad. Now, it is a trade-off of confidence and stability for the feeling of mobility. And I say confidence because a large part of inducing confidence in yourself during those high pressure moments in games is having the feeling of being able to stop your mouse movements and control it, rather than the lack of ability to move the mouse. Right, having that palm contact generates a lot of confidence in the sense that you can feel the mouse, you can hold it, you can control it. And I really don't know who is out there yelling for a smaller BeastX, or why the BeastX Mini even exists when the regular one is already functional for only a minority of the population. But for f***'s sake, please, end this dog small mouse hype. The regular BeastX is already as small as a mouse should practically be. So lastly, for shape and comparisons. I don't have any mice on hand I can compare other than the WLmouse Tachi. Both are magnesium mice, but the Tachi definitely feels like an even better well-built mouse than the already well-built BeastX. Now, in addition, the coating on the Tachi is far superior, and easily one of the best of any magnesium out there. In fact, it probably sits as one of the best coated mice, regardless of material, just one of the best coatings, period. Now, moving to clicks, both are also excellent, and I have nothing to speak about here. Tachi's advantage is that it's hot swappable, meaning you can customize the switches to make it your ideal click, but it's still mechanical. BeastX, on the other hand, features opticals, which in theory should be superior performance, so they would trade equal blows here. The BeastX is also lighter than the Tachi, which weighs 47 grams, but I really don't think the weight differences here are worth mentioning. The skate design on the BeastX is definitely better, given it's just two medium-sized front and rear skates, rather than the Tachi's wild skate design of what even is this. Lastly, for shape, while diagrams will show that they're extremely similar, the Tachi definitely feels larger in hand and safer, more rounded on all the curves. The solid sides also make a significant difference towards holding the mouse. The BeastX, on the other hand, feels slimmer, flatter, more mobile because of both the shape and weight, but overall I am definitely more of a Tachi fan, and I still think Tachi is probably the best magnesium mouse I've ever touched, or just one of the best mice I've ever touched in general. Hopefully it releases. So who should buy the WLmouse Beast X? Well, if you want to actually use this mouse, you need to have extremely small hands, and I can't iterate this enough, or be a fingertip gripper. Otherwise, if you are a collector, then just for the aesthetic of the mouse itself, it is definitely worth buying. The other colorways are all fire. I can only conditionally recommend it, despite all the positives that this mouse has, simply because it doesn't have those solid sides, and the size is really just not my thing. And speaking of that, it's because I've had people come to me and say, oh, what do you think about the BeastX? And I want to tell them that it's a really good mouse, but I just know for a fact that these are people that will buy this mouse and not enjoy it, because they're not aware that how small this is, how flat it is, and how it feels in hand. They'll say, oh, it looked alright, people said good things about it, but then these are people that I know with medium to large size hands, and there's just no way they're going to use this. Which is why I keep saying I can only conditionally recommend this, despite all the positives in terms of clicks, build, whatever else. Once again, big thanks to WLmouse for sending the BeastX to me. This was a huge surprise entry into the market of recent times, and definitely proves that WLmouse have what it takes to make a top tier mouse. I really look forward to what else they can make in the future and hopefully improve on their products. But please, stop making smaller mice, alright? We don't need smaller mice. See you guys in the next video.